You're standing at the mouth of your shelter. It's dark. The others are asleep behind you, curled around the last warmth of the fire. And you have one job tonight. Keep what's inside, inside. Keep what's outside, out. Simple, right? You've got food back there. Dried meat, grain you spent 3 weeks gathering. It's the difference between your family living through winter and your family not living through winter. And there's no door, no lock, no bolt. Just a gap in the rock and the darkness pressing against it. You hear something move out there, a footstep that isn't an animal's. Someone knows what you have. Someone wants it. And right now, the only thing standing between your survival and someone else's hunger is whether you stay awake. That's it. Your eyelids. That's the entire security system. So you sit, you wait. You guard a hole in a wall with your own exhausted body. Because for most of human history, the only lock that existed was a person willing to die in front of it. Now, think about your morning today. You walked out your front door. You pulled it shut behind you. Maybe you heard that little click, that satisfying, boring, forgettable click. You didn't think about it once. You've turned a key 10,000 times and never once felt your heart rate change. A lock to you is background noise. It's the thing you're annoyed by when you can't find your keys. But that click, that casual, thoughtless click, it represents one of the most desperate problems our ancestors ever faced. Because for hundreds of thousands of years, the concept of away didn't exist. You couldn't leave your stuff and go. If you left it, it was gone. Owning something and protecting something were the same exhausting act. You couldn't sleep and be safe. You couldn't hunt and keep your home secure. Every possession you had was tied, physically, to your presence beside it. The lock didn't just change how we store grain. It's the invention that first let a human being walk away. Here's what this video is going to prove. The first lock wasn't invented to stop thieves. It was invented to solve something far stranger. And the very first people it was designed to hold weren't criminals at all. They were prisoners. And that changes everything about who we became. The first one is the problem of trust, or the total absence of it. Picture Çatalhöyük in what's now central Turkey, around 7,400 years ago. It's one of the oldest cities we've ever dug up. Thousands of people, packed mud brick houses so tight you entered through the roof. And here's the thing that keeps archaeologists up at night. There are almost no locks. Why? Because in a settlement that dense, watched by that many eyes, the community itself was the lock. Step out of line and everyone knew. That worked until it didn't. Because the moment you have surplus, you have someone who wants to take it without asking. The second one is the problem of surplus itself. This is the wild part. For nearly all of human existence, there was nothing worth locking up. You can't hoard a hunt. Meat rots in days. But then agriculture arrives around 10,000 years ago in the Fertile Crescent. And suddenly there's grain, thousands of pounds of it, sitting in one place, storable for a year. Granaries at sites like Jericho held enough food to feed a village through drought. That grain was wealth. It was survival made solid. And for the first time in history, a thing existed that was both incredibly valuable and completely unable to defend itself. And the third one, maybe the worst, is the problem of people. Not stolen grain, stolen humans. Because once you had surplus, you needed labor to protect and grow it. And some of that labor didn't come willingly. The earliest true locks we found weren't guarding gold. The famous pin tumbler lock, discovered in the ruins of the palace of Khorsabad in ancient Assyria, dating back roughly 2,700 years, was a massive wooden mechanism. And the people who most needed to be kept in place, the captives, the bonded, the enslaved, were in many early societies the very thing being secured behind the door. So what did they actually build? The answer is genuinely brilliant, and it's older than you think. The pin tumbler lock. That same basic idea is still in your front door right now. The Egyptian version, over 4,000 years old, worked like this. A wooden bolt held the door shut. Inside it, a set of loose wooden pins dropped down into holes, jamming the bolt in place. You couldn't just slide it. To open it, you needed a specific wooden key, long, almost like a toothbrush, with pegs sticking up that matched exactly where those pins had fallen. Push it in, lift the pins to precisely the right height, and the bolt slides free. Get the height wrong, and nothing moves. This wasn't a lucky accident. Someone sat down and thought about height and depth, and the idea that a secret could be a shape. Losing that key or failing to guard that door could mean losing everything you'd stored to survive the year. We know these existed because we found them, carved into the ruins of Egyptian estates and depicted in ancient reliefs. The lock was knowledge made physical, a puzzle only you knew the answer to. But here's the part nobody talks about. The lock didn't just protect things, it invented privacy. Think about that. Before a door could be secured from the inside, there was no such thing as a private moment, no secret, no space that was yours alone. The lock created the very idea of mine, a boundary you could enforce even when you slept, even when you left. And with the idea of mine came something we now build entire civilizations on: property, contracts, law. The concept that a thing belongs to a specific person, defensible even in their absence. A locked room is the birth of the individual, and it goes further. To have a lock, you need a key, and a key you keep from others is the first physical secret, the ancestor of every password, every vault, every locked diary a kid has ever hidden under a mattress. Start at Khorsabad, Assyria, around 700 BCE. Archaeologists uncovered the wooden pin tumbler mechanism in the palace ruins there, proof that a working mechanical lock existed nearly 3,000 years ago. It means the puzzle of the key is ancient. Jump to Egypt over 4,000 years ago. Wooden locks and their long peg keys appear on estates along the Nile, the direct ancestors of the lock in your hand today. Same principle, 4 millennia apart. Now Rome, around 2,000 years ago. Roman engineers shrank the whole thing down to metal and invented the ward lock and started wearing keys as rings on their fingers. A key on your finger was a flex. It said, I own something worth locking. Go to Çatalhöyük, 7,400 years ago in Turkey, a city with barely any locks at all, because surveillance by neighbors did the job. It shows us the lock was never really about metal. It was about what happens when we can no longer watch each other. And finally, Jericho, roughly 10,000 years ago in the Jordan Valley, one of the oldest walled settlements on Earth, with granaries built to store surplus grain. The wall came before the lock, proof that the very first thing we ever tried to secure wasn't a room, it was food. So why does this matter beyond old wood and rusted pins? The archaeologist V. Gordon Childe, working out of the University of London in the 1930s, gave us a phrase for exactly this moment: the Neolithic Revolution. His argument was that farming didn't just change our diet, it rewired our entire social world. Once people settled and stored surplus, Childe argued, everything followed. Specialized jobs, social ranks, the gap between those who had and those who didn't. And the lock sits right at that fracture point. It's the physical object where we share everything quietly became, this is mine, and you need permission. Researchers who build on Childe's work point out that you can trace the birth of inequality through the walls and doors people started building. The lock isn't just a tool, it's a fossil of the exact moment human beings stopped fully trusting each other. And here's where it gets personal. Watch what you do tonight. You'll get home, walk inside, and you'll lock the door behind you. And something in your chest will unclench. That little exhale, that drop in your shoulders. You felt it 1,000 times without naming it. That feeling isn't about the metal. It's an instinct hundreds of thousands of years deep. The ancient, bone-level relief of a threshold you control. Your ancestors felt that exact release when they finally jammed a wooden pin into place and knew for one night no one was coming through. You still check the door twice before bed, don't you? You tug the handle. You're not being paranoid. You're running a program written before cities, before writing, before history. Your body still guards the mouth of the cave. So go back to that dark shelter. You, awake, guarding a hole in a wall with nothing but your own eyes. And now trace the whole line. The grain that couldn't defend itself. The neighbors who watched. The captives who couldn't leave. The wooden pins in Egypt. The keys worn like rings in Rome. The privacy that was born the first time a door clicked shut from the inside. The relief in your chest tonight when you turn the bolt. All of it. Every civilization, every secret, every law about what's yours started with one impossible wish, whispered in the dark by someone too tired to keep guarding. The wish to walk away and still be safe. That's all a lock has ever been. Not metal, not machinery, just a way to sleep. So lock your door tonight and know exactly how old that feeling is.